Welcome to this session of Sexual Forces Integration in God's Psyche. We are using today the logic of many great psychologists and logics that we are going to be applying as the ones that are in Lacan. We have his graph here of Lacan from the beginning of Freud, Carl Jung, and the interconnectivity that Jordan Peterson and Parise also made on this great topic of humanity. And as we have been working on the hero's map, I will make a crossover with this. It's like a cross check also with the map of the hero and all the areas and the stages. And talking about this, today I was doing the studies and the preparation and opening up a folder like this where I had the map of the magician taking notes, and for maybe 2 months I had one of these in blank which I was about to write, and I open it, and when I open it I start thinking and doing the writings of the map to have it clear in my head. And then I started having insights on the primal scene, the primary scene. The primary scene is the one that Freud talks about, the child listening that there's something weird happening in their parents' room. You know, they're like doing some noises, there's something happening in their parents' room. And well, all those impulses that the subconscious of the child wants to participate, to want to be in there, and how it's interpreted from that primal scene. And suddenly I see this paper that was holding into the, you know, like the library, the book where they sold me the thing, they put a random paper, and suddenly I see this of the ego, that is also psychology, super yo, I don't know, in English is the self, the super self and the it. And exactly it starts talking about what I was writing, the Edipo complex and the primary scene, and here says the Edipo complex, Freud, and it was like, I cannot believe I was just writing about this, and in the paper that could be any paper, any part of the book, any other thing I opened that didn't have this name, and that's when we are on track. So that's already giving us a good sign that we are in a good place. Sometimes I will be talking here for the ones who are in present, and sometimes for here, that the ones that are looking the recording in the future. And that's just that to know that I will be there interacting with both of you, the ones in the future and the ones in here present. So we are going to be doing a relationship here to see, to start developing the feedback and the opening of the topic, opening the topic that will have many levels of listening. That we already been working on the degrees, the registries of listening. Do you remember the ones who were in the hero's map? Which are the degrees of listening, the layers when we are listening? You can write it. We're going to be reading those things while we play out with these dynamics of sexual forces and the maturation of them. Also, I will keep bringing the approach of the psychology, the initiatic cultures, and the gaming, because I have grown up a lot with the gaming. I love the gaming theory. I like to keep it playful as well. And okay, you didn't write here? Yes. Perfect. Hi all, yes. Okay. The hero's map, for the ones who want a little catch up, we have a placing on where we are, where is our energy and our consciousness trapped in a moment. So we need to read the scenario, the situations that we may have, and we have to do a deep reading of many lines. First, the symbolical. The symbolical, that is the little signs and symbols that will decant into, will be like the building blocks for the imaginary reading. So we have the symbolical, the imaginary, and the real realm of reading. So in those three registries we are going to be playing, and I bring this up because we need this deeper level of understanding, because all of the guys that were working on this, and to understand God's psyche and language, as we have been talking, we need to understand the symbolic and the mythology. As we started with the Edipo mythology, we need to understand it because it's in all psychology and all the formation of the psyche, the Edipo complex. And it's a story. Have you heard of Edipo? The story of Edipo, and a certain degree? Yes? Kind of? Okay. No? Wow, we have wide spectrum. So, Edipo, to sum it up, you had thousands of years to watch it, otherwise now it's kind of spoiled, but it's a mythology that happens that the child that was separated by the father cast the child out because he didn't want to interrupt the love between him and his wife or his mother, and then he comes back to the mother and accidentally kills the father to be married with the mother again. So starting with this is the first not agreement or disagreement with Jung and Freud. Carl Jung and Freud. Jung says, learned a lot from Freud, but says that that's the logic of a hero's journey that failed. Going back to Oedipus mythology is a hero's journey that failed, because it's not about coming back with the mother. And that's why we need this deeper level of reading of the symbology. So we're going to be playing with symbols here. So I need us to get in to understand that where the misconceptions of the imaginary and the real that applies everywhere when we're reading the decantation of God's consciousness, of God's psyche, lost in translation in between these registries, happens something very different in the real, right? So we need to go here, subtle from the dense, the alchemist. So it's not going on a journey, beating all the stuff to come back and be with your mother. That's not the circle that we worked on, the hero's journey, the hero's map. That's not the idea of doing that circle to go back to your mother. No. That's the same as the primal act. The primal act is understood as, okay, what they are doing in the room. Okay, they're having sex. The first contact with this force, you know, they're having sex in the room. So it's like, why I cannot be part of it? Because you're still a child, and it's like the child wants to be part of it, so thinks that he has to remove the father to be there. That's to take it more in the imaginary, right? So the imaginary may be generating a distortion on that what he has to do is be there. So the confusion is that he wants to grow up, or he wants to get in contact with that sacred act that is happening. He wants to get in contact with sacredness, but still is not up to the size, is not mature enough to be up to the sacredness of the act. But in between, in the imaginary, he thinks that he has to take away the father, so he's the man of the house and he can be with the mother. So like those distortions happen a lot when the decantation comes. So as we talk in the conference in New York, here's Joy that was there present, we talk a lot about the masculine, the feminine, and the divinity, and the maturation that happens through initiatic rites. So all our life we are looking for these initiatic rites that connects us with the sacred. And in the lost translations and the misunderstandings, we think that we have to do what the ego likes to get, you know, like the ego likes to interpret that I have to go protect my mother from my evil father, that I don't know if he's hurting her or, you know, he's separating my love from her. So there starts being a lot of complex things with love. And Carl Jung talks, I don't have the book around here, but a book on Carl Jung on love. That is the most complex and the main problem that humanity has. The humans have the problem of love and the misunderstandings of what kind of love is by having with which and how to express it. So what we are having here is this relationship to life, relationship to the divinity, from where life comes. So what we are looking for is that access, that being up to the sacred act, usually misunderstood, but I have to be with a woman, or with a woman that looks like my mother, or behaves like my mother, or like if we don't understand the symbolism of this and we dispose it and detach it from the imaginary and emotional components of the mistranslation of the ego, we cannot understand that what we want is the connection with the sacredness, not separate the father and to be with the mother and to be there, to come back to the womb, to keep being the eternal child. That keeps us here in the first quadrant of the hero's map. We go back here and we just don't leave the skirt of the woman. You know, we want to be inside the skirt of the women, no matter what, because we don't want to grow up, we want to be taken care of, and that's not the idea of the hero's journey. That's why the first disagreement with Freud and Carl Jung was the failed heroic act, because the misconception of the first reading of the what. And we work a lot in this polishing of really the what. What's the what? Is the connection with the divinity, to do divine things beyond the original bubble, you know, beyond the womb, beyond this comfort zone that is the mother's womb. Otherwise we don't ever grow up, mature to arrive to that point. So bringing also my story of how I grow up to the pre-teenager ages, 12 years old, I started playing a lot of video games, and in particular one that last night I realized that was an initiation itself for me. The ones who are reading, the ones who already have this capacity of reading and know that there are many things in different lines being said here, then I will ask you some questions of what has been the core issue that already has been said, and will be all through the session. This game was an initiation because it made an input in me and a framework of the understanding of the world by the story. The story was a child lost in the forest of the lost childs. That's make it sounds any parallel. Does it ring any bell? Let's say the child in the lost forest or in the forest of the lost childs, that they cannot go out of that forest. If they go out of that forest, they will grow up, and the spell of being eternal children will dispel. So that's if you want to see Jordan Peterson's talk on Peter Pan, you have it very well there, you know. And Peter Pan and this game also, Zelda Ocarina of Time, initiatic game, starts as that, as a child in the forest with a fairy. That's the feminine energy guiding, you know, and that's his imaginary contact with the woman, you know, and being assisted by this place that he cannot go out until he gets a capacity of protecting himself from the external world. That just to bring it up on the first primary scene and getting out of the first stage of the hero's path as well. As Joseph Campbell talks, there's a normality, or in the Buddha, there's the kingdom that starts like cutting out pieces of reality that he's not contemplating, and that's why it's so shocking when he matures. He starts losing pieces of himself or his childhood, while he starts encountering other reality or the broader reality. So that is a good reason to be super scared, and the ego is super scared of that because it's losing part of the self, because the identity that I believe that I have. So this game was very, very initiatic itself, and I am still decoding it, because it was a journey of times, of maturation, of the self, and the noble ambition of going beyond oneself. That's the hero's path in there. And also Link is the main hero of the story that goes linking all the components, all the stories. He's the hero, the protagonist of the story, linking all the different kind of loves. There are different kind of loves, you know, like there's like this childish, there's the loyalty, there's the different kind of loves that even Jung talks about, you know, the love for the world, the love for a romantic, the love for there are many different loves that he puts part of himself in all of those to grow up, linking all of them, plus linking different times, as we worked here. I highly recommend to watch the linking of the linear time and the circular time that we saw in the first map. So he connects those times, and the realms. He connects parts that were not known by him or others. He opens them up for others. So it's like an exploration of consciousness, the terrain of consciousness, times, and kinds of love. So each player, each hero willing to leave the child's mind into noble, heroic ambitions is doing a service to God consciousness expansion. That's just to set a why we are putting the divinity the courage that is required to do it, because he brings there's a triforce. There's a triforce that usually in the duality of male, female, feminine, masculine is always forgotten, the third part, that is divinity. The conference we did in New York was about that. It's forgotten the sacred trinity that is required, necessary to not mess it up in there and go out of ourselves. It's not you or me, it's beyond ourselves. That's what the Trinity had in between, in the beginning, and the hero of time, Link, has the one of courage. It has the virtue of courage. So we have to be very courageous to love in different ways than leave parts of ourselves to the world. Just that to put an attitude, a predisposition to how to enter these realms of the sacredness. Otherwise we will just be playing with mommy, daddy, whatever mythology and whatever collective mythos that is being played out. If we don't understand that we are the hero in the center of our story, we just are being played out as a non-playing character. Just put it in there. We can, whatever level you're reading of this, we can be playing with the ego that will start thinking of, yes, that's because of that, and that, whatever piece of information here, because it will touch deeper parts of us. Just to bring this warning, let's say, this warning of check your ego when wants to absorb this information, because it's the most sacred energy there is, and it's very likely that the ego will take it to, yes, because that's happened to me and that's why who I am. And you see, if you saw the sphinxes here, we know that you may be automatically taken to one of these sphinxes or one of these stages. Just be aware of that. Okay, how so far? So far so good? The entrance? Showing the door? Yes? Awesome. I like you induced me to drink. We are going to talk about these forces too. So, all these psychologists and the cultures and mythologies focus on the phallic function. Yeah. There are some visual ones here. The phallic function. And why the phallic function? We will start there because it's the position of, it's on the man side. We are going to start working on Lacan. Lacan has a strong symbolism, and he was very, very pompous when he came on this, and if you understand this, you understood everything. He said in his talk, Lacan, yes. So it's in French, but anyway, or sometimes it's in French and I learned it in Spanish. So if I had to do a translation, we will explain in English. So the phallocentric focus of all the cultures comes from this capacity of standing in yourself, to be aroused by yourself, erected, to stand in your personal power. There's no monument. This was very fun from Paris. He said there are no monuments to fluffy, sleepy penises. If you think there are no monuments to fluffy, sleepy penises, all the monuments are for the strong stuff, the strong center, the capital, the obelisk. That's the symbolism of use of standing up in your power. being filled up with power, filled up, being sexualized on yourself, as he said, self-erogenous. Erogenous would be in English. That you can, you know, like stand up, erect yourself. So, starting from there, it's like, oh, I can get excited, aroused by life. So I get hard on life. And that capacity of self-erogenous starts the male energy as a subject. The masculine energy starts as a subject that is crossed. As a subject that, to be himself as a reference, he cannot be. His reference is this. The male thinks like the measure of power starts here, like the measure of erectedness, the phallic function, takes away the subject and crosses it over to become an object and look for an object. That's why the male looks for an object, but in the properly used, the man looks for an object. That's an A, that psychology symbolism is the object. The male looks for an object. So if this power, I will just do a nuance here. If this power is used correctly, you start using as you become the object of your reality. Is having power over yourself. You are not subject that is tied to. Sujeto also means tied to something, you know, bounded to something. You're not only the sujeto of a reality, you have observation of yourself as an object that you can place in different scenarios. So this, translated to a more common language, is self-awareness. You can observe yourself and place you in different places because you also are the object that you can move from a stage, from a scenario, from many things. Yes, Tashi, thank you very much. There's the mythology as well, perfectly placed here, of Narcissus. Narcissus, if this energy placed has to be there, Oedipo Narcissus has to be there in the mythology, to self-aroused. You have to have this capacity of liking yourself. Self-awareness to see yourself and like yourself. Otherwise you cannot shine. You have something that you like yourself. So with this capacity of liking yourself, you can start shining. Now we start with it was not self-arousal, excitement just by itself. You have capacity of shining because you are standing in your phallocentric function. Otherwise, the Narcissus mythology is like, oh, look at this, and it's like a constant masturbation. If Narcissus drowned himself because of a constant masturbation, psychological masturbation, that drowned himself. And that's the problems, the ones who do not go out of themselves, do not go to see an object outside themselves, do not go to seek on the other side of the equation. So that now the ego will take it from, like, check your ego here, because it's like I'm talking symbolically in the God, in psychology terms. That's why men objectifies women. He's looking for an object in women. And this is not wrong. That's about the, no, this is not wrong. That's the thing is, knowing this, knowing that the man doesn't have his own reference that he's looking for, his significance is being looked up in what he has, in objects around, to have the self-awareness that the male energy is looking for. It's not the man, it's male energy is looking for self-awareness to bounce in a reflection. Okay, let's take it to higher sublimation level, sublimate the language. So the object that comes to look for this part of the field, when we come to the female side, that we all have inside, we have this one and the other side. No matter, you can be a masculine and be standing more on this side. Remember that it's not about men or women, it's masculine, feminine energies in Psyche. So the female side has La crossed over. La is crossed, and La is la mujer, la femme. The woman is crossed because she by herself is not. The woman by herself has not self-reference because this side works on la falta, the absence, what's missing. It's like the little girl that says like, hey daddy, why you give my brother that? When you give my brother a penis, and why you didn't give me? So it's what I don't have defines me. And women looks what they don't have, and they look at male, and you can see it in many movements of, oh, because men have that, and have those rights, and do that, so we want that because we don't have it. That's the thing of the expressed out socially, more in the dance, beyond the misunderstanding of this. So, as the woman works on what the ego doesn't like at all, that is not having, and not understanding that void, that the emptiness or the missing of something is a place that divides the reactions as well. The ego does not like to not be the one in power, so that's why there are many women that want to be more male-ish. So they are in their power and they start covering up this thing of I have the phallic, I bring, you know, the objects, I bring the provisions, and then they have the problem of I don't find any male. There are no male matching me because they're trying to match it with masculine energy, because they're competing in this side, you know. So you cannot complement that because they are competing in the masculine side. That happens a lot. And because of this not referencing herself, because of, I mean, the reference by what is missing, she comes to be fertilized. She comes to be brought to light. So from the masculine energy that comes to seek an object, she comes and see, what object are you looking in me? If you're like you're standing in your feminine side, it's what are you looking in me? I will give it to you to bring you a reference. I will give you the significance you're looking, but not being it. It's like a play of images here. It's like semblanteo, it's called in Spanish, that is pretending game. That, okay, I will mirror you in what you want, but I'm not what you think you are or what you're projecting. Make sense? So that's the game. That's the game there. I will bring here the term. that the significant in the woman's side, is enlightening what she has inside, what's in the void, to take it to the grotesque, to fill up the void, to get her whole field. That's the function of the energy, to get this lack filled. So I'm focusing on the whole. What I don't have that has to be filled. So this is the significance to the other. So she's focused also in the other. Women itself, if you see in the biology, they pay much more attention to the other. They are looking to both of your eyes because they are reading deeply on the other. And also it's more empathetic. They are like looking what the other is missing as well. Or the mothers, the motherly function is how can I fill up that void that is missing, because I detect there's a missing. And a woman that is a lot in this energy and does not have the healthy masculine will try to fill all the voids, all the lacks that her child has without letting the child grow. And that's the devouring mother playing in the mythology here. Now that we are on this side, that can be an archetypical force working. If we are very focused on this, it's like what I like, what I lack, and what's lacking on my children, and what's lacking on him, how can I please? Because you go out of yourself if you are way too much on this side and not having the self-reference and not understanding that you're mirroring the object. Yes, without centering, because this balance has to be in both, in every person. It's not what the male has to do and the women has to do and what's supposed to. No. These are the Psyche, the divinity forces integration in us. So we don't go into trying to cover the mistakes of the other, trying to fill the voids of the other, because we are in this motherly energy. So that's when we are focused on the significant what the other doesn't have. Yes. So when we get properly filled with the object, when we get properly filled with the object, this space, we get to this shape that is phi. Can you see it from there? Phi is the golden number, you know. In psychology is also the juxtaposition, the merging of the phallic in the whole. Yes. So that's the point where we are already interconnected. Both forces are playing in us and we are growing up. Because whatever place of whatever complement that has been filled up with light, this has to be light. You cannot do magic with a one that is not, you know, like those magics that are like, and then they put it up. So it has to be filled up with light to bring them to be impregnated with light, to give birth. In Spanish we say dar a luz, to give to light, to bring out light. So this is all a light game as well, energies of light and sexual forces in there. So when we are here, the fun thing is everything's completed, because there's a phenomenon that happens that the woman feels herself Carl Jung talks about it. It's like, feels herself in the sense of feels and feels. Both feels with double E and feels with double L. Feels herself and feels herself. And the male energy feels himself and has a reference because he can have a contact with all the surfaces. You know, he's like covered by. So it's a special point of, we don't know who is in who. Who is in who? In Spanish we say en quién, and it's in and on at the same time. Who is on who or in who? So that's a special point that makes us grow up or makes something grow, produce. So to bring it into sexual force conduction and use, because this is brought, this class is especially brought to when we are in the step 9 of Hero's Path, that we have to read these energies, what energies are being played. We understand which part we are not using, or which is being used by us, by the other as well. If we don't have self-reference and we are focused on what we are lacking and why she has bigger things and why she has that, and even the male is like, look what the other has, and look, that's feminine, that's the teenager girl. The many men are like, oh, but I don't have that and I don't have that, instead of wow, look at that, look at those things that she has. That's the objectification. He looks in what she has and the other looks on what they don't have. So that, when we are reading the situations and people around on how is the voice inside our head, we are understanding at least in which side of the field we are, in which stage of the thing we are, and how to correct it. Doing a beautiful circuiting. First, we are using the archetypes of the hero's construction, that is the warrior that conducts himself. You conduct and you direct yourself because you have the power of directing yourself. So if you're not directing yourself, that energy is missing. The first, that you have to really like and fall in love with yourself and kind of masturbate yourself with your being. That's maybe the self-love, if you can take it. The self-love work, that you have to be self-arousal, excitado, self-excitement. So that energy may be lacking to begin. Remember, you will not be attractive if you don't like yourself. What are you trying to sell? This works in the marketing. What are you trying to sell if you don't have shine? You say like this object, that, but you are not shining. You have to be shining and super enthusiastic of what I'm talking about. The sexual forces that are, like that shining has to come out from you. So then you induce, it's induce in the third. I'm missing the second force. Oh, there's a reason why I'm missing the second force. I have it here. So I need the object to bring it up. Conduce is this of the warrior energy that I am conducting myself. So let me get the second force, or I shouldn't say it right now in the marketing. Okay. So you conduct yourself to the main objective of produce a result. This is the production of a result. So you first do the conduction to pass. I don't have the word, I'm just missing a word, but it's the transference of brightness that happens to start playing on the other side. That there's many people that is like, oh, look how I shine, but they don't know how to team play. That's Narcissus and all that stuff that Many of us sometimes are there, you know, like it's like, oh, how shiny I am, eh? But we don't know how to. There may be a reason why I forgot this word. I will have to tell right now. To pass it to the other field. That is to pass on the brightness. Hey, you shine too, and I will induce. No, it's induce is like already to let's do it together. There's something that you put in the shine in the other, in the object, and then we induce an action to do together. It's the marketing is like, hey, look how well I am. This object is great. Let's do this. So let's produce. To take it like in simple, like into marketing language. So first you have to shine yourself, transfer the shine to the object, and then induce a way. Because you are conducing and shining to produce a result. The result that we want. So that's sexual forces in marketing in 2 minutes. let me get 1 minute that I will complete it, this sentence, and put the charger here. Give me 1 second. Just finished recording and reminded of the second force, seduction. Was fun that in this talk I forgot about seduction. So it is conduction, seduction, induction, and production. Those are the 4 forces that we are going to explain now applied. Okay, we have to move the object and the position as well where we are to keep going. It's fun. It's fun that we had to move the position. And it made me remember of Mahoma, you know. Sometimes we are in a position and we don't want to move. So what? The journey would have ended if I didn't move. It's like so if the mountain does not move to Mahoma, we are going to the mountain. So let's do it in this new position, and also change positions to the quadrants, the positions of the hero's map, to revise them and also play a little bit in the stages of development of the hero's path, so we can acknowledge how to play with the sexual energies that may be in there, and also the sphinxes that want us to prevent us from growth. Yes, here, there. I'm changing your position too. Was clear before we go to the map? It was clear the thing of the subject, the object, the lack. Any question on that? You can write it here. No? I think that the marketing one is nice. Perfect, very clear, okay. I will bring again the position of the gaming that I was watching last night that didn't let me sleep properly as well. Now this has to be 2. What goes first? This, okay. This one to heal the consent, to make peace with the wounded ego, and sometimes that the feminine may have. On these sides, how it's presented is the knowledge and the wisdom. Reconcile, perfect. The knowledge and the wisdom. So, yes, now it's recording here, thank you. Thank you, this feedback. I need to come to observe the other, to have self-reference. This is, the energy is playing out as well. And I'm doing psychoanalysis of why I'm forgetting the second word too. So, putting shine in here and in you too. Putting that shine, that's the transference I'm doing. the female represents truth. You like that, right? Every knowledge is supported by a truth. So there's a main truth that also is the wisdom, because the woman passes it through the body. That's the difference. The knowledge and the wisdom is because the woman passes it through, gets impregnated, really feels it, passes through the body. So that's why the feminine has the truth, the wisdom that is applied. And the men can have the knowledge that is the cognos, the code, the seed that will fertilize and will be supported by a truth. That's why they say behind every knowledge there's a big truth. And also behind every great man there's a great woman. That's the place of truth, truth, knowledge, wisdom, and male-female energies. And that had to go there because it's very deep understanding. It even that plays out in the dynamics of the families, you know, like there's the professor of school and knows everything, and you know, comes to the house and says, "You're not bringing money. We really need money. You may know many things, but what the reality is, you know, the truth is that you need to bring money to the house. It's like you may know everything yet." And that's a dynamic that happens a lot. That's why the woman feels it, feels the house, feels the need, feels the host that reality may have, the biological satisfactions or needs may be there. And this is a good point to move into the quadrant of the need, that is also in the mature woman. Or, if not is well used, it's a kind of hysterical teenage or mature woman. When she's focused on the real things that are missing, or by the whiny things that she thinks is missing because she's being driven by the ego. That's the difference of this quadrant that we're deepening. For the ones who didn't see it, the quadrants have a logic. The universal and the individual negative is I have everything, I have things but this, minus this. This is the logic of this, the quadrant or the stage of consciousness that, but I don't have this, or but I need this. And it's a very powerful stage to use the feminine power, or sometimes put us in a position that makes an exceptionality, because it's the quadrant of exceptionality as well. Everyone can do it but me, or everybody has this imposition but me. That's the double edge of this quadrant. So we can be using this quadrant that is focused on what there's missing, or what the other is missing. That's also to heal the judgment, you know, like, oh yes, but she has small whatever, he has. That also can be into judgmental thing on the if the ego role starts working there as the judgment, or starts working as we saw the beginning, the victim. I am in special needs, that's why I need that. And the ego would like you to be the worst of the plot, the most needing person, and that's why you're so special. That's why there's a place of positioning there. And that starts making a sick dynamic. You know, that starts making a sick dynamic because it starts unbalancing the powers. Remember that if we see if we see the main thread of this, there's a phallic function, and there's what has been the thing that we have been playing out and being told all the time since the beginning. You can write it, you can write it. But what there has been something to read. I wanted to take you to this stage of watching a deeper level of reading to feel that space that was open at the beginning. Okay, 3, 2, 1. there's the hands are like, okay, they're not typing much. A relationship, a link. I said it in the game, the link, the relationship, the subject that is bounded. Subject to what? To a relationship. So there's a disbalance in the relationships. There's a relationships within signs, within symbols, within mythologies, within levels of readings. All of this God Psyche plot is about relationships. And the relationships within the symbolic and the relationships between the knowledge and the truth, because that's a relationship itself. That every knowledge has a truth backing up, or that has a relationship. So there's divinity at play. Exactly. Interplay. Psyche is they're super tuned. So this interconnectivity, these relationships that are ongoing in everything, in the symbols, in our dynamics, in the positions, in the places, in the times, is divinity that is getting to know itself. So with this introduction, because I don't believe this is more than introductory, and I hope this brings excitement or enthusiasm or curiosity, intrigue to go deeper into these topics, because it's for me that I am studying from spirituality, personal development, multidimensionality. This is very enriching and making me grow up a lot because of the relationship I'm having with reality. This is why the channelers, we can read differently and have a different relationship with divinity, masters, whatever entity. It's a matter of relationships. That's why I needed to bring it now. It's like how we relate to. That's the sacredness that we talk about, the masculine, the feminine, and the relationship is the divinity thing. What's divine? To declare divine. Make sense? Yes, that's the idea. Yes, making sense. And I will close up with these two things that I want to be there in the tintero, in the ink thing, in the ink holder. How's that in English? Okay, so I don't want to be left without this. Carl Jung talks about, in the book of love, about love, the healing relationship. The healing relationship. And I thought, okay, it's about love, it's about healing relationship. And he started talking about the relationship he had with a patient, with a client. That was professional, but there's since they are doing something together, that is therapy, the effect on both is happening. So I love psychology, and I realize I love it a lot. I love it like it fulfills me so much, because the original meaning, that is not psyche as the mind. We think psychological is understanding the mind, but in a shorter definition is the mind as the divine mind. And also psyche in Greek means expression of the soul that comes through the mind. So if we are understanding God's psyche, if we understand our psyche and the mind, the expression of our soul, that's a healing relationship. We are generating meaning in our life. That meaning heals. There's the meaning therapy that is healing us all the time, because we get impregnated with wisdom, we get fertilized, we mature, we also empty ourselves from lesser nutritional seeds that are the ego seeds. In the Tao, they have this symbol of the yin-yang, and they talk about seeds, what seeds you're putting in your mind. And now I link it to the link story, that to have our internal relationship, our self-awareness and the relationship with the divine, we have to discern which seeds we are putting in, and to clear. In the game there's a strong sense of purification, of temples, of places, of my life from the ego attachments, that, oh yes, this was my love of the childhood and I have to let go. This was the house of all my life and I have to let it go. That detachment, that you get purified to match that heroic new state that is closer to the divinity. So it's not only linking to the divinity, it's also a process of purification and clearing from the egoic or the lowercase self seeds. Okay, and standing up in the mastery of ourselves. I love that what made us change of times in the story of Zelda was when you get the master sword. When you stand in your mastery. So when you pull out the master sword, that was the only way to defeat the corrupted adult. That was the only way to defeat the big thief, the big boss monster that becomes the corrupted adult. So that's what we're healing. We're going to our childhood forces or our sexual and production forces of reality to stand in our mastery, to clear and defeat the corrupted adults that may be generated in ourselves and in the reality around. Make sense? I will share with you under this video the story of Link. I wish you had played it 20 years ago, but it's like the story you will see like all fast. That's a masterclass of a masterclass. I found it last night and I highly recommend it because it has deep philosophy and the subtext, what is in between the lines of stories and the hero stories in there. So it will be below this video, and yes, I highly recommend it for this journey, also to see it with images, because watching me talk maybe not that attractive as I would like to, or I believe it is, but that images were great. Okay, let's go to the assessment of the cases. So we start playing with this. Thank you everybody from the future. More is coming soon.